Welcome to today's Explainer. We are jumping right into things because today we are unpacking some incredibly specific, deeply fascinating, and truly out of this world esoteric lore. Seriously, we're going to explore a narrative that bridges the massive gap between deep space and ancient human history. So think about this for a second. Who actually taught astronomy, monumental architecture, and the super complex science of flood control to ancient Egypt? Now, traditional history gives us an answer built on centuries of human trial and error. But the material we're digging into today, it offers a totally unconventional, extraterrestrial perspective. The source text we're drawing from is a book titled Soul Readings of Space People by Ryuho Okawa. Now, right off the bat, I want to be absolutely clear. We aren't here to validate or debunk these claims. We are simply neutrally reporting on the text's incredibly unique narrative. Think of it as a really fascinating thought experiment, letting us understand exactly what this text claims about alien involvement in our distant past. Section 1, The Soul from Scorpio. Okay, let's dive into this. Chapter 5 of our source material centers completely on an entity called Subject E, who allegedly carries the soul of an alien from the Scorpio constellation. And the text gets super specific about their physical traits. While Subject E looked mostly human, there were some major differences. You and I have 5 digits, right? Well, Subject E had 6 fingers and 6 toes. But honestly, the most shocking difference is the height. 2.5 meters. That is literally over 8 feet tall. I really want to emphasize the sheer physical scale of Subject E here. Just imagine a being of that massive stature walking right alongside early humans. It's an absolutely crucial detail in the text, painting this entity as a towering, imposing figure to the ancient people they interacted with.
Section 2. Arrival in Ancient Egypt.
So how exactly did this towering figure get here? Well, according to the text, Subject E originated way out in the Scorpio constellation, traveled across the cosmos, and landed in ancient Egypt thousands of years ago. But here's the catch. They didn't arrive to conquer. Instead, they deeply integrated into the society, actually serving as a high priest during the mythological eras of Osiris and Horus. And here is a detail you're gonna love, this spacecraft itself. The text states they arrived in a pyramid-shaped spaceship. How crazy is that? It's captivating because it deliberately links advanced alien technology to what is basically the most iconic human architecture in existence. The implication here is that the Egyptian pyramids weren't just a human invention, but actually a reflection of the very vessel that fell from the stars. Section 3, Guardians of Civilization. Once they were established as a high priest, Subject E didn't just sit back and watch humanity figure things out. The text claims they actively taught 3 foundational technologies. Step 1 was astronomy, to unlock the secrets of the stars and seasons. Step 2 was architecture, which allowed for that monumental construction. And Step 3 was flood control, which was absolutely vital for harnessing the wild power of the Nile River. You know, these aren't just random facts. These are literally the essential building blocks you need to turn a scattered population into a powerful empire. Because of those massive contributions, the text explicitly refers to Subject E as a guardian of civilization. I really want to highlight that specific phrasing because it shows how Subject E viewed their own self-appointed protective role over early human history. They were essentially acting as a steward, actively nurturing humanity's growth. Section 4, the role of virtue. And this brilliantly illustrates a fascinating shift in the text. It moves right out of the sci-fi lore of spaceships and 6-fingered giants and dives straight into deep political philosophy. Subject E actually believed in a strong hierarchical system, favoring a top-down rule by what they called noble kings. But hold on, this wasn't some tyrannical dictatorship. The entire structure balanced on one absolutely vital core requirement: high moral virtue. This is the crucial takeaway here. Yes, Subject E favored strict top-down rule, but the text firmly insists this whole system hinges entirely on the leader's unshakable morality. Moral virtue is the absolute, non-negotiable prerequisite. In the eyes of this Scorpio soul, without extreme ethical purity, there is simply no way a leader gets to sit at the top of that hierarchy. So, bringing our explainer full circle, Chapter 5 of this text really is a wild blend of ideas. It weaves together highly specific descriptions of a towering alien visitor with this surprisingly high-minded governance theory. It's an esoteric narrative that starts out in the distant stars of Scorpio, lands in the sands of ancient Egypt, and ends up reading like a philosophical treatise on how human societies actually ought to be ethically ruled. Which leaves us with this final,
provocative thought to chew on. If modern leaders were chosen strictly by their moral virtue, that absolute non-negotiable standard demanded by this alleged Scorpio soul thousands of years ago, how different would our world look today? It is for sure a question worth asking. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope you found this dive as incredibly fascinating as I did. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.